Hey, I'm Garrett Titlebaum, and this is the Full Spin Club. I'm here to talk about Pusha T. It's almost dry.
All right, dude. Welcome to the club.
Thanks, Dave.
We was out in Brambleton after Pooh got hit. I'm gambling. Blew a small mansion. Annoyed cause it's summertime, Winterfell. I'm the night king. You order Diet Coke, that's a joke, right? Right now, 1-800 call my bluff. When we feed the projects for most of the year, rarely do you see the phoenix rise from the ashes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Spin Club. My name is David Stewart. I'm the host of this online album listening club because I don't like reading books, and this takes usually about 45 minutes of my life. So, this week, like Garrett said, we're listening to Pusha T's It's Almost Dry. We decided to follow up the Drake and Kendrick beef with yet another contender in the beef against Drake, Pusha T. For those that are new to the show, there are three main segments. There is On a Pedestal, which is where Garrett and I will each have three things that we loved about the record that we listened to in its entirety.
Have to say nice stuff.
Yep, gotta say nice stuff. And then the second section is called On a Spit, and that is where we each brought three roasts or lowest lows of what we thought was the weakest parts of the record. And then the third section is called On a Turntable, and that is where we will discuss some of the more deeper themes that I've thought of, as well as some more personalized questions to the two of us, using the album as a backdrop to some fun conversation. Throughout the episode, there will be record scratch moments. There's recently been two. It's like the Daily Double in Jeopardy.
Okay.
So I will decide when those happen based on how the conversation's going. We have our mainstay game, Hit or Full of Shit, which is where I bring takes that I've either heard on the internet or from my own brain, and then we will decide whether they're good or bad takes. And then the second one is a fun surprise that is usually specific to the episode.
Like a physical challenge?
Not physical. A lot of them are improvised.
We have to do like a scene?
Not like a scene, but like you got to think on your feet a little bit. For the Drake versus Kendrick, I had David Chimisaro pretend to be the lawyer defending Drake in a pedophile trial.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough lawsuit.
Yep, and then use Drake's lyrics against him.
Are you trying to get into the Drake algorithm by having the nude child next to us while we're doing this interview?
Yes, actually, I'm trying to tap into that specific audience. Yep,
that's good. I think that's profitable.
Hope I put it low enough where it's like.
You think the seltzer is blocking that?
The baby
the computer
penis.
is.
Yes, it is.
What penis?
Yeah, what baby penis? But all right. So, Garrett, does that all sound okay?
Yeah, you have my consent. Let's spin, baby.
Let's talk. So, I usually like to start the episodes with. Give me a one-word descriptor of your listening experience of It's Almost Dry.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
That's if the man had a thesis statement, it seems like he only has one hobby.
Exactly. It's just cocaine.
That's all the album was about.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that a lot. But actually, you've actually said the trigger phrase for our first.
Oh, hey, that's a win.
Scratch. We've done it. This might be a record time for records.
I got it in my one word.
Yes, in your one word. It is cocaine.
Take that.
So this
other spinners.
This mini game is called How Many Do You Know? These are the slang words for both cocaine and crack that the American Addiction Center has defined on the internet. So I have it split into two categories of cocaine and crack. We'll start with cocaine. How many of the slang terms for cocaine do you think you can name from this 17 slang long list?
I mean, snow is obvious.
Correct.
Blow is
correct.
A famous Johnny Depp movie about the subject, so I know that one. Booger sugar.
Ooh, not on the list.
Okay.
But is slang.
Yeah. Nose candy.
Yep.
Powder.
That's on the list. Powder, not on the list. Good for them.
No, okay. Yayo.
Not on the list.
See, I know that at least three of those are at least. I know that I'm probably not the Pusha T demo.
Sure.
But at least if that was the terminology that I would lean on for cocaine.
Okay. Some of the.
What am I missing?
Well, we have blow.
Got it.
Bump. C or big C. Coke, classic. Crack, which I thought was interesting.
Well, it's crack cocaine, sure.
Dust, Flake, Line, Nose Candy, a classic, Pearl, Rail, Snow, Sneeze, Snuff, Speedball, Toot, and White
Speedball,
Rock.
sure. Okay.
Those are the ones for cocaine. My favorite is probably Nose Candy or Sneeze. That's a new one for me.
I hadn't heard Sneeze, but Nose Candy and Booger Sugar I kind of always heard interchangeably.
Yeah.
It's like a one and the same sort of
I think,
uncle phrase.
I think It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia coined the phrase nose clams.
Okay,
That was my favorite one from there. For crack, do you want to try out crack? They're off the wall.
Nope. As Pusha's other album cover was a Whitney Houston, I will just revert back to Crack is Whack.
Crack is whack. My favorite one from the list for crack is Jelly Beans.
Okay.
That's new to me.
Jelly Beans.
Yep.
Not one that I'd heard.
Or Black Rock, like the investment firm.
Okay.
As a bonus, if you would like, you are able to now
do some here on the show.
Yes,
no, thank you.
You may do some on the show. But bonus, if you pick your favorite and come up with a bar for it.
Oh, if I have to rap
You don't
about
have to
Booger
rap it.
Sugar?
You can rap about Booger Sugar.
No, I'm okay.
All right.
The hat is and the shoes. That's as rapping as I'm going to get today.
Fair enough, man. Cool. Well,
sorry to disappoint spinheads.
First record scratch of the game. Handled.
Did it best I could.
Cool, man. So that brings us to our first official segment here. It is On a Pedestal.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about the things that we liked best about this record.
We have to compliment him.
Yeah, we got to compliment him.
All right.
I'm picking up from your body language. Might be a tall order.
No, I have nice things to say.
Okay.
Kanye soul samples always make me happy.
Yeah.
Just across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think Father Stretch My Hand, Diamonds Are Forever, H to the Izzo, Through the Wire, the Neptunes Rule, just generally. I like all the NERD stuff and great choices in who he chose to work with on this album.
Yes.
To produce.
Yeah, it was definitely.
That's a compliment.
Yep, it was. It was interesting that he chose to have 6 beats from each Kanye and Pharrell. I thought that was a very interesting dynamic across
and not
the
like
record.
a half and half. Like they're interspersed.
Yeah, they're
at
interspersed.
Random.
Yeah, it's funny though. All of my pedestal songs are Pharrell beats.
Okay.
And that's not me saying I didn't like the Kanye ones. It was the ones that I really enjoy end up being.
So
Pharrell.
I just felt like I'm glad they're on there, and I like their style, and it just felt like it was territory I've already treaded with them.
Sure.
It didn't feel like it was anything new or challenging or unique. They just felt like, yeah, that's a Kanye beat, or yeah, that sounds like a Pharrell song.
Yeah.
There was nothing that would make me go back and go, that's something I gotta hear again.
Sure. Okay. I have a rebuttal for that, but I also think there's like a section where I'll dive into that further.
That's full of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. We already done a record scratch, so I got to pause on that.
Yeah,
for a
we
while.
can't knock them all out in the first 5.
But yeah, so I typically like the Pharrell beats better.
That's fair. You like to dance.
I do. Well, also, dude, the 808 that Pharrell chose to use across his beats for this record was rad.
Yeah.
So like, I drive a 2011 Toyota Prius. But because I bought it extra used, I got like the good sound system in it because
somebody had it.
Yeah, because somebody had it.
Sure,
and it
upfitted.
and so it rattles the Prius, which is one of my favorite things to do. But my first one was Brambleton, the opener.
Good song.
Yeah, because I appreciate how all of the Pharrell beats are really dark. Like all of the synth sounds, as well as that super low 808 and like the snare, which I will bring up later.
I like drums.
Yeah, they're all really ominous, and it forced, because of the consistency of Pharrell's beats as opposed to the dynamics of the Kanye beats. The onus was on Pusha himself to make the song dynamic.
Okay.
As opposed to the beats are really dynamic with Kanye's, and that let Pusha T just spit bars.
He could be himself.
Yeah. And so
they encouraged each other to do what they do.
Yeah. And so
sometimes you can be more creative when you have limitations.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
And so that's Brambleton was my first one. I think it's a really great opener for the record.
Yeah, there wasn't another song short of, Diet Coke that I think you could open with.
Yeah, and like Diet Coke was the single, so like he technically, I guess, did open.
You kind of introduced the album that way, even if it's not track one. That's true.
Yeah. And so Brambleton, I remember like playing it the first time. I'm like, God damn, it felt similar to when I listened to like Metro Boomin's last record, like superheroes and villains, like.
It's very like Yeezus kind of beat. It's aggressive, even though it's not a Kanye beat, but it is very of that sort of era.
Yeah. So that was my first pedestal.
Okay.
You got a second one for us?
Second one. As somebody who hasn't listened to nearly as much new music in the last probably 5 or we'll call it 8 years, I liked that he had Game of Thrones and Godfather 2 references, so I could feel like I get it.
Like, hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, I'm fun. I knew what it was like to do cocaine.
Yeah, that is actually a great segue into my second one because Neck and Wrist and that is where the Night King reference comes in, and also my favorite like inflection of Pusha T's voice this time around, where he's like, "Summertime, Winterfell, I'm the Night King." Like,
it is. It's very like. You have to alliterate to fit it in.
Yeah. And like the way he inflects his voice is like, you don't normally get that out of Pusha T. He's usually just spitting.
Sure.
And so like that is like where Pharrell pushed him, was to like, no, do different things with your voice because the beat can only carry you so far. And so
that's fair.
That's what I was reading online as far as like their dynamic as like a duo.
And you think that's a hit.
Yeah.
Got it.
But we can debate that more.
I don't know. I think it was fun. I remember getting excited about Daytona because Kanye was putting out a handful of albums, but it's really, other than the couple of tracks on Dark Twisted Fantasy, I hadn't spent a ton of time with Pusha T. I know him, but my joke is very real. I do prefer group rap. I like a dynamic where, and he had clips with his brother, and so like grinding was big when I was young. I like. I learned more about him. I didn't realize he was on all those tracks that I knew over the years. But this album didn't go like, oh, I got to dig deeper. I got to hear it all.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. I had something. I was like, see, that's like why I pitched Revenge of the Dreamers 3 to you, was because of your bit about group rap, because it was like the Olympics.
It's like a collaborative.
Rap. Yeah, it's a huge collaborative effort.
I said, let me give this a try.
Yeah,
Let's
let me
do
give
it.
Pusha T.
But I liked Diet Coke. I said, that's a song, right?
Yeah, that's one.
And I think the Fat Joe opening, like yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah.
It's a cool sample. I like a yelling sort of open to a song. It's like a big sort of, are you not entertained?
Yeah.
Let's dig in. And so what a message,
Kanye can still cook, man. Like he's cooking these beats. He can't cook great opinions anymore. But like he
Donda was where I got off the bus.
Yeah.
I gave him a lot of rope for a long time, and he kept hanging himself, and I can't feel like, I don't know. I love him, and I liked a lot of what he did for a long time, but even Pusha T left him.
True. I think he's still the president of good music, which is interesting.
Yeah. They don't put out music anymore.
No, they really don't. But that's because they all folded into Universal, I think.
Sure.
But
music's over, man.
Music's over, dude. Good time to get into a music podcast. Do you have a third and final?
Just Diet Coke.
Diet Coke was your third and
final.
final.
Diet Coke and the opening for Diet Coke with Fat Joe.
Yeah, my last one was Open Air. It's the second to last track.
Okay.
And because it was just, again, Pusha T spitting on Pharrell beats. A big fan.
I like the last track too, Pray For Him. That was very catchy. I did
Great
that on
closer.
the drive up. I was like, that's a good end to an album.
Cool, man. So, we've done the complimenting.
Yes.
Have you prepared some roasts for us?
I have some thoughts, yeah.
All right. Are we ready for On a Spit?
Let's do it.
All right. Give me your first, like either lowest low, or you can phrase it as a roast if you'd like. Sometimes people don't like roast jokes.
Pusha T's album title, It's Almost Dry, is a warning. Don't expect any hits here. Pusha T should have called this album It's Almost Interesting.
That's actually scarily close to my first one, which is... Oh, never mind. Actually, you've triggered Hitter Full of Shit. The record scratch, baby.
Another one.
The first record scratch. It's Almost Dry. which is really in reference to the wealth of material that selling coke for 20 plus years has provided.
Bingo. Yeah. What a one note sort of story, which I'll get to here in another joke. But
Yeah. So that's a hit. It's almost
the full agree. I think you'd sent me some quote that he like wants to be the Scorsese of like.
Yep.
What a thin, not even realistic to what Martin's been able to accomplish. He's not a one note guy.
No.
You're literally one topic on every song. There's nothing unique or different about it. And, people are dying all over the country. I don't what are we celebrating at some point? Right. This is what you choose to make your life about. At some point, I get that I'm not in the demo of who music is being made for anymore, but this isn't for me in like a topic. And I also was never a coke. I went to a beer school. Sure. I smoke weed, but that's like the extent of what I'm interested in. And so I don't want to be up late. Yeah. I don't want to count stacks of stuff. Comedy's as late as you're going to get me to do anything. And
that's fair.
Midnight shows are tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting out of late mics.
9:30s can be tough.
Yeah.
Late mic.
I ran a late mic.
You ran a late mic.
And I was like,
When I had a mic, at least I was the early mic of the night.
Yeah.
When I had one back in Pittsburgh. Man. Yeah. To be the late mic, you're getting home at 1.
Oh, yeah. And usually not even by my own volition. I'm trying to wrap that thing up. We started at 9. I'm trying to wrap up by 11:30, and then I get caught by
couple more people. Yeah. Oh yeah, could you stay a little later? Text, we're gonna make it over across town.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can stretch a little bit.
Or the new person to the scene that's very drunk and wants you to tell them that they're good.
Sure.
And I'm like.
I've been going to Wednesdays at Taproom on Ludlow more frequently, and a woman after her first or second time asked me how to get paid work. And I said, if you can find it, let me know.
Yeah,
I would love some.
Yeah.
Just maybe do this because you like doing it
before
you worry about
have to.
Any part of getting paid to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it because you like it. There's no other way.
No, and I always tell people, I go, if you could feel validated doing something else, you should probably do that.
You should do that.
Because this isn't a normal thing that I need to do.
No. I always say is, you have to be, a little mentally unwell to even, think that this is the viable way.
Well, part of your brain dies over time as you bomb early on. And you stop feeling, and that's okay.
And that's
you should feel a little bit, but that, any emotion to, that wasn't good or whatever, it's nope. Your bar goes up too as you get better of what bombing really is. And so at some point you're like, oh, they didn't like one thing, they hated me. So, they didn't really hate you, but
I always give that advice to people where I'm like, all right, first of all, you're gonna want to stop caring what people think as far as the negatives go. You're more than welcome to accept the laughs. I'm not saying
take the praise.
Take the praise, but
it's 6 of one, half a dozen. It's not
it's not worth.
Do the joke in 5 different rooms, figure out why it's working in one place and figure something out to fix about it to make it work in the other places. You'd almost rather when it doesn't go well because you're at least getting something out of it at a mic.
Right. And the people that are afraid to do it, I'm like, you're going to want to stop.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah. Why?
There's plenty of us.
Yeah. All right.
And it is. I don't get to know enough new people. I'm not good about it, but I've done this long enough that there's new people all the time, and I got to see you out for a that while. We'll bump into each other.
I've gotten to that level too.
You can come talk to me, but I don't need to talk to everyone.
Yeah, I've gotten to that way as well. There's a new crop these days, and I'm like, I'll see you in 6 months if you're still
if you're here. and I'll be nice. I'll always give advice if people ask, but.
I'm giving the old fist bump.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I think once you develop a bit with somebody, that was always my advice to people early on. I was like, just if you're trying to figure out how to get into the circle, which for some socially awkward people is tough.
Yeah.
I go, just develop enough of a thing that you can say or do when you see that person out that oh, hey, so-and-so's here. Now I get to do this bit. Don't run bits all the time for the love of God.
Oh,
but
God, please don't.
Create life bits with people that help ground you in the community.
Yeah.
That's my piece of advice.
Yep. Be the best hang you can without being annoying.
Be funny, be kind.
Yep.
Always.
But yeah.
Now I got to say another mean thing?
No, I have another take if you're ready.
Oh, yeah. We're back in. I got distracted by roasting. Hit or full of shit?
Hit or full of shit. The second one is Pharrell spanked Kanye in production.
I don't know. I say that's full of shit because I didn't feel like, again, there were beats that sounded like Kanye beats that were Pharrell songs. They weren't unique enough that I would say one was drastically better than the other. To me.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I have this multifaceted argument for me because I do think Pharrell's beats were mostly one note.
Sure.
Like they were all along the same lines. They were very consistent, and that was like great, but it's not as dynamic as Kanye beats. Like I've already kind of said that before.
Yeah.
But I think the real value in Pharrell on this album was his long-standing relationship with Pusha T, because it's actually longer than Kanye's.
Okay.
Because he produced a lot of the Clips records.
Okay.
And so he knows how to push Pusha into doing more dynamic things with his own voice instead of relying on the beats.
That makes sense.
And so that's where I'm I think Pharrell won
from a production standpoint.
Not
necessarily from a beat standpoint.
Yeah. So
you can have a hit if you want it.
Hey-oh.
Put that in your head.
Half the fun is convincing people my takes are good.
I like that you enter the premise with some of these are from the internet and some of them are from me. And then as soon as I say they're not good, you're like, well, actually, here's what I think.
Here's what I think. You can say that Anthony Fantano's takes are fucking dog shit. But you can't say mine are. This is my show.
Yeah, I did the research.
I put work into this, damn it. All right, final one. This is Pusha T's best work to date.
No, I think that's full of shit.
Yeah. I agreed. That was kind of a lot of the internets where
I did see it was very well received and everybody was high on it, and I think it, this was 22, so a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Maybe people just needed something after COVID. Yeah. The bar got lower.
Yeah. Because I genuinely think Daytona is a more creative record overall.
Yeah, I would say so. That's one that has replay value where I'll go back and re-listen to it.
And I think the concept of replay value is something that's very much on Pusha T's mind when he's making these records.
Okay.
Because in interviews that I saw him with Charlamagne the God, The Breakfast Club, he's I want to make bangers for people who don't listen, but I also want to make multifaceted songs for people who do listen. So he hides behind metaphor, etc. But I don't think that this one had the same amount of replay value as Daytona, because Daytona had way more complex bars in it. Is what I would say.
Sure. Yeah, it didn't feel like there was anything that made me laugh out loud. There wasn't anything that went that was that. I like that. That was good. There were some good lines. There's some memorable lines, but for me, good music records have those sorts of Big Sean chuckles, or a Kanye, even Talib Kweli. There's some fun in those albums that I love, and this isn't going to be one that's I need to do again.
Yeah, are you thinking he took himself too seriously?
At some point. Yeah. You don't sell cocaine anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You haven't sold cocaine, or if you are, you're doing
very good at hiding.
Very good at hiding it, but at what point is that something you need to keep talking about? Yeah. What are you at some point you don't have anything new to say about something. Right. And you would like to believe that people as artists and as human beings grow over time. Yeah. I don't want to get the same. There's something to be said for a band where every song sounds the same and that's okay. Yeah. Like a Matchbox 20. Yeah. But that's not an album that you're that's the best. I got to go back to their third record. That's where they really figured it out. Yeah.
Yes, so I do think that there is room for growth in Pusha T's musical arena if he chose to do so. I do think a very compelling album. So he's one of the few rappers that's been married for a long time and has children. And I was I think it would be
successful, monogamous.
Right. I think it would be fascinating for him to rap about his marriage. From the perspective of a former coke dealer.
Sure.
It can all be. Yeah. A thing. But I do think you're right. I think he could push himself.
He could do something that's creative.
Yeah. So, all right. So 2 hits, 1 full of shit.
Yeah. Better than I thought it would be.
All right.
You nailed it, man.
We did it. All right. So we're going to head back to On a Spit now. Do you have a second roast joke?
I
for
said,
us?
Pusha T's album is almost dry, just like my pussy after hearing it. That dude makes me wet.
Yeah, this album doesn't make me wet. My second one, I would say Pharrell, for all the praise I've given him, used the exact same snare in every song.
All the songs.
Yeah, in all the songs. That snare had him in a chokehold like that entire time.
It's a continuation on the album. It really, it does all kind of blend together.
You could even say he was ensnared by it.
No.
Hey.
You edit it. You can put whatever you want in there.
Well, anyway, really killing the dad joke arena over here on this end today. You have a final one?
Yeah. You know the piano intro of Runaway, which is where we all kind of first met Pusha as an individual rapper. It kind of makes sense to me because this dude is one note repeated ad nauseum.
Yeah, he's a one note guy.
Yeah.
Just big coke.
For 30 seconds. Just.
Yeah. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about as a white person, I am interested in the history of drug culture.
Okay.
There is a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, can edit this part. Oh, not autobiographical. Yes, but oh man,
from his perspective,
an anthropological side to it.
Okay,
this the same really nerdy way. Reason I like Kendrick Lamar so much is because it is so autobiographical of his life growing up and how the streets of Compton, how gangs work, how it feels to be a part of all of that. I love that shit.
Okay,
please teach me about this because I do enjoy learning about it. It's my version of true crime.
Okay, is your interest in street culture?
A little. I do find it fascinating, right?
You watch The Wire every year?
No, I've actually never seen The Wire.
Oh, then you don't. You don't need any rap records. Just watch
The Wire.
5 seasons of perfect television.
And I find it fascinating because
season 2 rips. The docs are awesome. Go watch The Wire.
All right.
That's my plug out there.
Go watch The Wire.
Full DVD club.
But yeah, I just find while he is completely one note,
sure,
I do appreciate
how many different ways
we can learn about this.
Okay.
But that being said, there are people out there that write the same book over and over again, and it is just as annoying.
Yeah.
So,
and again, if that's what you want, some people like feeling comfortable and reading the same story or listening to the same album over and over again. Yeah. And who am I to say what anybody should enjoy?
Sure.
I liked a lot of the early Kanye stuff. I listened to a lot of those albums.
Yeah.
I just, it was fine.
Right.
David, it was fine.
It was fine. Calm down, buddy. I am very generous with the artists that I like. That's one of the themes I've noticed on the show is that
it's tough to be mean to the ones we love, you know.
But
nobody talks about my brother but me. I get that attitude, sure.
But
these are your babies. You wouldn't have picked the albums. You don't have guests pick the records ever. You're the one who's dictating the conversation.
Usually, yeah.
Okay.
I'm toying with the flip side, but also it's mostly that crusade is led by Carl's Paith.
Yeah, what does Carl want you to play?
Carl has sent me some very late 90s punk records.
Okay.
Which I'm sure rip. I've listened to half of both.
I did a Stooges record, or just talked about the band in general with my defunct podcast with Carl, just because he loves talking music.
So. He does. Yeah. So he's Yeah, he's.
But you said I want to talk about The Wall, and
Carl was perfectly happy to shit on The Wall.
Sure.
And I was like, all right, that's fun.
Okay.
Because like sometimes I do try to book based on like hero villain. Like if you'll either like love this record or you'll absolutely hate it.
Greg and 89 was a nice pairing. Yeah. I love that album, but I get that it's not Greg's cup of tea.
Oh no, Greg was in pain for both the hours he spent listening to it and talking about it.
Sure, and I don't want to listen to her newer stuff.
Right.
89's great.
Yeah, 89, classic. It's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then also, or I try and book as like based on like I try to pick something that I think you'll like that you don't know you'll like.
And that's what you did for me?
No, that's what I did for Lee.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
I did it. So
this one.
I did The Dream Is Over with Lee. And he did like it, and I was like, yes.
I nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
And then for you, I gave you a smattering because I've pitched many records to you before. And
yeah,
I was like,
we did. We almost did a different one.
Yeah. So I was like, let's do a smattering and see what you gravitate towards.
Okay.
And so then that's how we got here.
I like music.
Yeah. And I like being generous with the people I like.
Yeah, I get that.
Maybe one day I'll do like a Greta Van Fleet record and just absolutely sit here and shit on it forever.
That's the band that bothers you the most?
Oh my gosh, they bother the shit out of me.
They do a nice cover of A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke that I really like.
Okay.
And essentially everything else is Led Zeppelin, which is fun.
They do a lovely Life cover of Led Zeppelin.
Full Life cosplay.
Yeah. All right, let me see if I have one more bad joke in me and then we'll move on.
Okay.
This one's not really a roast. It is a low point for me. The end of the album felt like the end of The Sopranos.
Yes, I would agree with that. I liked it as a song, but it doesn't have any sort of... Yeah, it is just a... Meh.
Yep. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that I would agree with you.
I was like, okay.
Just use a sound effect of somebody blowing a big line or something.
Blowing a big line.
Yeah.
You can even fade out if you wanted. But
That's
no,
true.
It was just like... It was on an offbeat, too. It was just... gone.
It does. It is off-putting.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Agreed. This one stunk.
Yep. And I was like, it was such a good song too. Like had Labyrinth and like had his brother Malice on there, like, and then just boop.
The end.
End of The Sopranos. Maybe. What do you think he was making a statement like the creator of The Sopranos?
Where maybe he's like, David Chase. It's over.
Yeah, it's over. Get over it.
I like that. That's a good take. I didn't realize until I was looking into him that he and his brother had done "Use This Gospel," which might be the last great Kanye song.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah. Off of Jesus is King.
Jesus
It's the really the last one that I was like, oh, this is a song.
Yeah.
And Clips is on there as like one of their first songs back together, which is
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah, that is. Damn, maybe I'll give that one another go. I think I gave Jesus is King like a single spin.
You can go back to it. You'll find a few songs. Use This Gospel is really good. It's the one with the car door kind of as the beat.
Okay.
The car signal. Yeah.
Okay.
It comes around.
All right. Because I know like there was the one off of there, I think like it's like the single off of Jesus is King that was like really good. I couldn't even tell you.
Praise him.
Yeah, praise him. That's the
Praise him.
Yep.
He's risen.
But yeah. All right. Did you get your jokes out? You got all three of you?
Yeah, I got them out.
All right.
I told that guy what's what.
That brings us to our final section of the show here. On a turntable. And this is where I've sent you these questions ahead of time. Maybe let them percolate. And this is where we'll use the album as a backdrop to talk about our regular old lives here.
Sure.
You know? So the first question I sent you was, one of the themes I notice in Pusha T's work is authenticity guarded by metaphor, meaning he's being no one else but him, but often hides some of the deeper and more vulnerable sides of himself in metaphor and cryptic bars. Do you ever find yourself acting this way in your own creative work? And do you think there is value in breadcrumbing vulnerability like that?
There's value in it. You always want to find ways to resonate with the crowd when you're performing. I think for me, I was probably to a fault not transparent my first few years in comedy.
Sure.
As a Jewish person, I didn't necessarily feel comfortable talking about my faith on stage for a long time. Maybe a year or two in, had an audience member do like a Nazi salute while I was on stage when I brought it up.
Yeah.
And I understand that, black comics and female comics don't have that same sort of option that I did, or gay comics sometimes can, if you choose not to talk about it, that's there. But like, I just didn't make it a point for 6-7 years. Mm-hmm. And now here in Cincinnati, I think I'm in a more supportive community. Blue state wise, I think maybe, who knows?
Blue city wise.
And Pittsburgh was the same thing. We had a blue dot, and then you could get pretty red as you were doing stuff out in the counties and stuff. But now I feel comfortable. But I also wanted to just learn how to be a comic, and I wanted to figure out how to do it. So I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to have something I needed to say about it at the beginning, and you really don't necessarily get that chance to in a shorter set. You need north of 15 minutes for them to know you, to be able to do certain jokes. There are jokes that no matter how good you are, you probably won't do in the first 10 minutes on stage.
Right. You're not going to cold open with it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. And so those can be tougher to work on.
Yeah.
But I would think at the end of when I get those longer sets, I do have like a thesis. I have something I believe that I can talk about and get to. So when those chances are there, I that's what the goal is not just to be, pedophile jokes.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Right.
I feel like I think there is like value in, like you said, getting good before getting vulnerable. And like, it's weird to get good while not necessarily being your full self. Like,
sure.
That's like a weird back and forth that I mess with in my head like all the time.
I also got into this space of like, the audience deserves to know a version of the truth.
Right.
But they don't have to know every detail, because maybe every detail isn't funny.
Right.
Maybe if I twist this part of a story, it gets a better reaction, or it's more, specific to that room I'm performing for at the time. Yeah. And so there's a comfortability in creating the truth of the joke without like lying per se.
Right. One of the tactics I've come up with recently is taking two truthful stories and making one not truthful narrative.
There you go.
Where it makes it make sense. So everything is like totally valid, but like, did it happen at the exact same time? No.
Sure.
But like, so that's been, it's been like interesting to like kind of find that path along the way, like when it's doing like stand up consistently enough again, where like get good, find your funny, and then find yourself.
There's always those people who are like, you can't say anything anymore, and you got to be and it's like, you really can. You personally might not be able to.
Right.
And there are no topics that are off limits. You as a first year, second year, whatever, just might not be the person to tackle that topic.
Right.
And that's okay. It doesn't mean like we're censoring you. It doesn't mean like the scene is too PC, but like, not every comic needs to have a take on every current event or every social, trife thing that we have to go through. It's just talk about what's unique to you, and then you're never going to be in a position where you are worried about the premise that somebody else is doing.
Right. That's like my main advice to people as well. I was like, if you write it about your experience, one, no one's going to step on your bits.
Right.
Two, like you don't really have to worry about like being PC or anything like that, because this is your lived experience.
Right.
You do have the authority to speak on it because it is you. It's
yours. Yeah.
Like, and so that saves you the two largest gripes of any comic is if you're just like authentic to yourself.
That's always that, like, just be funny up there.
Yeah.
Figure out how to be funny.
Right.
Before you try to figure out how to talk about the things you believe.
Yeah.
You don't have to be Bill Hicks.
Yeah. You don't got to be Bill Hicks. You don't got to be Carlin. Like,
right.
Even Carlin and, oh gosh, this is going to be embarrassing.
It's your show. You can edit us.
Even Carlin and, wow. Anyway.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Not Jerry Seinfeld, because he's still struggling. But
you can't say anything.
Richard
anymore.
Pryor. There it is. They didn't start as Carlin and Richard Pryor.
Sure.
They had their own path to like finding themselves as comics, but they were funny before.
Yes.
earned the trust of people that like they do know how to write a joke.
Well, and everybody has different routes and different goals in this job. Like, we're not all going to get to be the host of the Tonight Show.
Right.
We're not all going to get an opportunity to be on SNL. There are so many paths up the mountain, and what you're going for doesn't have anything to do with me.
Right. And like what you're best suited for is not best suited for anyone else. Like there's enough.
Yeah.
You know, there's enough pie for everybody. Like in like if as long as you're aware of your own self and where you fit, then you're gonna find exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. And again, find ways to be as close to the same person on and off stage as you can, because that becomes easier for you to be you up there.
Right.
As you get to more comfortable in writing for you.
Yeah.
And that's how I think breadcrumbing, at least the way it was in my mind, makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. Like
it's a journey to get to be yourself up there.
Yeah.
And you have to wear a lot of different skins first and try a lot of different voices. And then eventually you go back and you're you again.
Yeah, because there are comics like Gerard Carmichael who nowadays is just getting on stage and just kind of talking. Like, yeah. Like, and like, I was like, I think people like him, I get nervous to like show him people like to newer comics. Cause I'm like, you don't do that yet.
Yeah. You can't try that.
You don't get to do that yet. Cause he was like a full on working comic before doing any of this.
And there was a point maybe 10 years ago where because Louis and Bill Burr were doing a special every year, a lot of people tried to start doing a special every year.
Yeah.
And you're like, not everybody has to have 60 new minutes every year. It's a very unique premise to work out that many different jokes and get them show ready.
Yeah.
And now it feels like there are people just putting out specials that could very easily be great if they spent another 6 months, 12 months, 18 months crafting.
Yeah. But yeah, so I do think, there's value in like guarding yourself up front, but ultimately, like I do think and like you even touched on earlier, like I think Pusha T has kind of fallen off the mountain in the sense that like we're not really getting that, like he's not pushing himself further into being himself. He's still kind of living in the Coke era.
Some people can keep making the same album and feel okay about the product they put out every year. I don't know. Like I think that was one of the other questions you had asked, kind of like, can you do the same thing over and over again and like really specialize?
Yeah. That is the next question. So I'll just read that and we can keep moving forward. So Pusha gets a lot of criticism for being a one-trick pony, even in this own show or in my own show. When it comes to his rap topics, namely cocaine, his main argument is Scorsese writes movies about the same thing, organized crime, and he wants to be like the Scorsese of coke rap. Is there anything in your life that you'd like to hone in on and explore every angle of, like the modern rap Georgia O'Keeffe? For those that don't understand the reference, Georgia O'Keeffe painted 36 paintings of a single door.
Yeah, it's her house, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
You could do that.
Yeah, and like in the argument for like the Georgia O'Keeffe people was like the door looked different every time.
Sure.
Based on how she was feeling, based on how the sun was, based on the other weather besides the sun, daytime, nighttime, time of year, all those things. It is like a different door, but it is the same door. I can see the argument for Pusha T as well. It is his different feelings of the coke game 20 years removed, 15 years removed, 10, 5. Like, you go back through his discography.
But does it feel like he's disconnected and removed or having any sort of feeling of that wasn't what I should have been doing?
No.
At no point does it ever feel like there's a narrative lesson or anything. It is still just glorifying, selling a drug that right now, because of fentanyl, is killing more people than it's ever killed. Yeah. And so
it's true. Like, one of the bars is like, why do a turkey drive once a year when I'm, when I pay the streets every day? Like when I bring money to the neighborhood. I was like, oh my God.
I think at least with comedy, you can't do the same premise or joke too many times without it becoming like kind of Jim Gaffigan with like, oh, he's the food guy. Yeah. You get pigeonholed pretty quickly. And you look at a guy like Dave Chappelle, who now is 5 specials into the premise that he doesn't understand trans people. Yeah. Which
What a wild premise to.
So here's what I'll say,
down
and
on.
I don't think when he first talked about it, he went about it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first special where he brings it up, he has a very unique perspective that's uniquely his as someone who's been Muslim since he was 18 years old, to take it from the premise of, because this is white men telling me I need to call them this, I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when Muhammad Ali told you this was his name, when Lou Alcindor said, I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you wouldn't do it for my brothers, so why do I need to show up and do it for you? What a beautifully succinct idea that could make you think and question, okay, I see where he's coming from. But to do another 4 hours about it has felt very disappointing as somebody who really, like, I was in high school when Chappelle Show was big. That's why we were talking about this album before we started being when I was writing college. It's like Chappelle Show was everything to me and my friends. And so for anybody, it's like when Louis got his first thing after the article came out, and it's like, you can't pawn a gold watch. That's what you've come back to talk about. It's just disappointing.
Yeah.
Because if people have hailed you as the GOAT, this big thing happened, you owned it and apologized as best, whatever you want to call it. But to come back and not have any sort of, like, they were all very like premises. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, if you spent 6 months, 12, but can you work on that sort of stuff if you're people of that level? Are you Tina Fey that disconnected from what normal people do that you can't be a human being at some point? Kanye West is so far gone that it's like, at some point I just had to stop looking to anybody for answers and just figured I'm the answer.
Sure.
That it's like, none of these people are people I can model my life after.
Oh yeah. And it's fair. Like, you're right. He's not learning anything.
Yeah.
Like, he's very one note in the sense, like, it is just glorifying it. He is, like, like talking about how much money he made, like how cool he felt, breaking the law. Like, I think, like, Brambleton is like one of my favorite songs, but he's like, we were on the border towns, like getting pounds. And so, like, it's it does glorify it a ton.
Yeah.
And there is no lessons learned. There's no, like, ways to get out of this. Like, even Jay-Z kind of pivoted,
Sure.
and was just like, hey, here's how you build generational wealth.
Yeah, what a different life he's led.
Yeah.
He certainly isn't doing Hard Knock Life anymore.
No.
He's got an entire album about cheating and reconciling
Yeah.
and really kind of grows over time. And maybe isn't the later half Jay-Z what we all want.
Right.
But
it's true to him.
It's true to him, and the fake retirement on the Black Album is fine because he still went away for a little while.
Yeah.
And that's an unbeatable record.
I think realistically he probably did retire.
Retired that aspect.
He retired that persona.
Yeah.
Like, and was like, well, I can't be this guy anymore. I'm too successful.
Yeah. But I think I struggle to focus in on any one thing. Like, I'm so broad in my goals.
Yeah.
That it's tough for me to feel like, oh, I can only do this one
Yeah.
kind of aspect of what I do.
I think
I have similar premises and similar ideas, but like just on a personal level, I set obnoxious goals. I'm trying to watch every show that's won best series in the Emmys.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to listen to every album by everybody in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And like, I'll never finish those things, but that's how I've gotten into the Grateful Dead. That's how I've really dug into the Randy Newman catalog. That's how I've, changed and evolved in my 30s. I'm not spending time with whatever's on the radio.
Right.
I'm spending time with the best of the best all the time.
Okay.
So for me,
yeah,
it's a completionist mindset, which again, I'll never really be able to finish because they add new people all the time.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I should spend my time with these things that are cultural milestones, landmarks, and if I get a bit or two out of them because I'm doing stuff that's in the zeitgeist, so be it.
Yeah. I think my focus has been what we talked about, where it's like, I'm just trying to be the best me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's been like my hyper focus. That's the thing I'll consistently circle back to, is like, how am I feeling? Like,
yeah.
And like how to portray myself most accurately while also being funny, or how to like just what are my actual takes, like are they like, or like not even like of like culture, like what are my takes of like my interaction with my doctor, like that kind of stuff.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
I'm trying to focus on being present more, like
I definitely get that.
and like because like that's like I was having this conversation with another comic last night. Actually, it was like, we're like, when I'm in like a more of a depression slump, I notice how not present I am, and that's like when I hit writing slumps at the same time.
Sure.
Is because like I'm not present enough to be like, hey, that was actually kind of weird. Like, let's explore that. Like, that part goes away.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like, that's my door, is like remaining present enough to like be like observant, in the sense like that was a strange interaction. This could be funny. Yeah.
Mining life for ideas.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you have a writing practice? Do you do something deliberate each day?
Yeah. I have fallen off the deliberate each day, but for like a good few years I was a big morning pages guy.
Sure.
Where I would type them, I would cheat.
No, that's fine.
But I did have a daily
fingers.
Yeah, I had a daily writing practice that way. And then it kind of devolved into more of like a bitching session, and so it was like less, which like is valuable in its own way of like getting that portion of your day done. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like if you intentionally bitch for like an hour, then like you spend less of your day kind of like passively bitching.
I think for me, I've always, not always, but I've tried to be better as I've gotten older about just saying like, it's very easy to be negative.
Yeah.
It's easy for everybody. And like, there's enough bad shit going on.
Right.
That for me, comedy gets to be this outlet where I get to make somebody else's day a little bit better.
Yeah.
Nobody's like coming out to an open mic or a show that's not like hoping to feel good at the end of it.
Right.
If you're there for something evil, then so be it, and root against us. But like,
Jeez.
if you came to a comedy show, like, come have some fun. This isn't serious, man.
Yeah.
We're just here to goof off a little bit. But yeah, I think if you just show up and keep trying to be fun, that's the key.
Yeah. Yeah. So
also, Scorsese, really like a sad view about what Martin's done.
Yeah.
The Last Temptation of Christ, The Color of Money, After Hours, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy. None of them related to, I mean, crime. Sure, crime takes place, but not organized crime.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
You're
not the Scorsese of anything.
He's thinking
90s.
Yeah,
You're thinking of 90s, 2000s Martin
thinking,
Scorsese. Departed and Goodfellas, sure.
Even The Wolf of Wall Street, to an extent.
Yeah, white-collar crime.
White-collar crime. Not white-nose crime.
Yeah, well, they do pills.
Yeah, they do they actually do a ton of cocaine.
Quaaludes, I guess there's it.
All right, so the final question of the show here is, there's a very noticeable spirit of competition on this record because of the production choices. The Kanye versus Pharrell.
That's how you viewed this album, for sure.
That's how I viewed this album. And like also like I remember watching, interviews where he's like, it wasn't intentional, but like he did, like he would be like, well,
and they both feel like the kind of guys who would get pushed by that sort of thing in a good way.
Right. So as someone who runs a competitive game show, what are your opinions on competition as a means of growth? Do you have an ethos like that in your own work? Is that something that you subscribe to, or is it just something for fun?
I think I kind of hit on it a couple times earlier, like the competition's with yourself.
Yeah.
And like being better than you were the day before. I literally wrote, I want to be the best me I can be.
Yeah.
So like we're not that different. If I'm getting better each day as a person, as a comedian, that's the goal. And I felt like I spent a lot of my youth kind of wishing away that part of like not being present and like being ready for college or being ready for after college or like, so like now it's like, I'm in a good scene. I've got a good place in the community. I can host. I can feature at a few different places in town. I'm getting good opportunities to work with people that I think are funny, both locally and on a national level. As far as a competition sort of mindset goes, I do think it's a negative thing to have in this space. I do get that I run Garrett Titlebaum's the greatest comedian in the world. But I always tell the people who have competed, and we'll be doing another one on the 29th at 9:30, Corinne Turnbow's defending her championship. I tell them all before the show, like, the goal is to entertain these people.
Right.
If you're too worried about winning or losing, like, you're missing the point. We get to all be on stage together for an hour.
Yeah.
And like that's joy right there, riffing and having fun with other comics. The little games I put them through are just for my entertainment.
Sure.
And it's a weird little inside baseball kind of game.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, anything that a person who doesn't love comedy or like love stand up is going to want to probably be around, but it's like that's for us, like that's a cool thing. It's nice to be able to do that sort of stuff. When I ran a open mic back in Pittsburgh one year for Halloween, I did comedy costumes where I had comedians pair off. They had to dress as each other and try to do a 5 as the other person.
Oh, yeah.
But you had to be willing to trade with somebody.
Sure.
Because I wasn't going to let it get mean-spirited or let people go, I'll do them, and they're not into it. So, like, you had to find somebody in the scene. And we had 10 pairs. And then a couple people did, like, famous comedy, you know, people as their scenes. But, like, that's the sort of inside baseball I like. Let's build community through a stupid little game show where at the end of the day, if you say the name of the show, y'all know who the best is. Like, it's right there for you.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever get a belt for Corinne?
Like, she's got 2 trophies now at this point. So she's got 2 trophies. I do have an AEW championship belt that I got, so I could give her a replica belt at some point if it comes to it. We got to see this month. It's Connor Tweel and Giles Chikrin going for the belt, or the little trophies that we have. And this month's judges will be Wayne Memmott and Chris Seamer. Chris is doing a Chris Seamer and Friends show right before. So it'll be a fun little evening over at Commonwealth Sanctuary.
Nice. That will rule. And I do agree that you are competing against yourself. I think so for like the Sins and Virtues series, the Envy show, he closed that one out. And he talked about how there's 2 different kinds of envy. There's like the malicious envy where it's like, I want what you have. And then there's like a more competitive version of envy where it's like, I want to be as good as this, and use like it motivationally.
It's a better way to think about stuff. It's like, I don't want to be on a lineup where I know I'm funnier than everybody.
Right.
It's like when you get the chance to close a show and you're following, somebody that you respect and you think is hyper talented and will do well, like that, it makes us all better.
Yeah.
Putting together lineups that help build through is important as a guy who's like hosting a show or trying to put together things. Like you do have to have a thought process behind the order and how that works. And it does have to be complementary styles, but not identical styles. And you want it to be unique. But yeah, it's okay to have moments of saying like, I want what that person's doing. We're all human.
Or like, I want to work as hard as that
person. I love the way so-and-so writes. Like, I think that the way this person gets after it is impressive on stage. Their crowd work, their mannerisms. But that's what, instead of going like, I want to be able to talk about anything, go to open mics, go to shows, go see people frequently, and figure out what they do differently. Watch the people in our scene, not from an envious point, but to study, be a student of comedy. If the goal is to get better, if the goal is to continue to improve at this, but then ultimately you have to kill that mindset of I deserve anything.
Oh, sure.
Because that's where people, it's like, well, I've been doing XYZ and look at all the things I'm doing. And those people aren't doing those things, but they're getting this. It's like when you start to think about things in that way, you've already kind of lost.
Yeah.
Because it's just fun, stupid jokes.
Yeah, and if you're not happy where you are, then you get to do something different to change that. And not wish the outcomes upon yourself. That's cause right now I've been talking about this a lot recently. It's like I'm pretty happy with my consistency of work right now.
Sure,
doing great, totally happy. It's really opened up the world. Cool.
Yeah, it's nice to have a couple of bucks in your pocket from comedy.
Yeah.
Would it be nice to have to do nothing else? Of course.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic for the life I have. And
right.
So
I'm also not terribly interested in making stand-up my full-time gig.
Sure.
Just because I love it and will continue to do it, but I need something else in my day because I can't be the person that works 1 hour a night.
Sure.
I need
got a filthy day with something. I get that.
Busy hands. Need to do something.
Well, it's like nobody's asking me to do anything that I'm saying no to frequently.
Right.
I'd love more.
Oh, sure.
And so I like the stuff I'm doing. I'd love to continue to do more comedy stuff. Now that I've done it for a little while, tried to get better at putting my name out there. I don't put video out, but I did shoot something with 4x3 earlier this year at the Comet that'll come out, so I'm excited to be able to like have a 10 that I'm happy with that I can shop and try to do fests and things like that next. But
for sure.
Yeah, man, doing comedy is the best job in the world. I like talking about music, so thank you for having me here.
Oh, of course, man.
I wrote an article from my high school newspaper about like the importance of the B-side and not like that. So I've always been an albums person.
Yeah.
And so if I wanted to listen, this is the one thing I really wanted to say today. If I wanted to listen to 36 minutes of cocaine, I would just play Casey Jones 4 times at my house.
Fair.
That's all I need. Give me some Grateful Dead, man. That's all I'm looking for.
I hear ya. Well, doing Grateful Dead albums isn't really a thing, right? They only have live records?
There are albums I can recommend to you, but we could do a live album. I can make a playlist for you. Whatever you're interested or capable in. If you like John Mayer, I can play Dead and Company, the newer stuff. If you're open to the country songs, it's whatever we can find a route in.
Okay.
There's so many paths up the mountain. It really would be sad if you never figured it out.
Right.
It is the one band that for me has really changed my life in a big way. So
all right.
I recommend them.
We'll definitely be having you back.
All right. I'll come do it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
For sure, man. Thanks for coming on. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, like, comment, subscribe. It helps the algorithm and all of that business on YouTube. And we're trying to get to 100 subscribers here pretty soon. So that'd be pretty cool. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. But thanks, everybody. Peace out.